A very interesting story. Welcome to my channel. Do you ever feel like your life is boring? Like every day is the same? You wake up, go to school or work, come home, sleep, and repeat. You want something interesting, something that makes you feel alive. But nothing exciting happens. You feel stuck, lost, like you're just waiting for something. But what if I told you the most interesting story is not far away? It's not in books. It's not in movies. It's already inside you. You just have to unlock it. Stay with me, because this story might change the way you see your own life. Comment below. Have you ever felt like your life is too normal? Chapter 1. The boring life that wanted more. My name is Amir. I lived in a quiet town. Every day was the same. I woke up, brushed my teeth, ate breakfast, and went to school. The road to school was always quiet. The same trees, the same shops, the same faces. Nothing changed. Nothing surprised me. In class, I listened, but I didn't feel excited. I did my homework. I passed my tests, but I felt nothing. Just a big empty space inside. I wanted something more, but I didn't know what it was. Maybe a big adventure? Maybe something new? Maybe someone to shake my world? I didn't know. I just knew. I was tired of this normal life. After school, I came home. I sat on the bed. I stared at the ceiling. I picked up my phone, scrolled and scrolled, watched videos of people doing amazing things, traveling, speaking new languages, living in other countries, telling their stories. And I asked myself, why not me? Why does their life feel like a movie, and mine feels like a pause button? But even when I wanted change, I didn't know how. I had no money to travel. I didn't speak good English. I didn't have big dreams. I was just me, a boy in a quiet town with a silent wish inside. One day I was walking in the park. The sky was gray. My bag was heavy. My shoes were old. I sat down on a bench under a tree. I looked around. Children were playing. Birds were flying. But I didn't smile. I felt too tired to smile. Then I heard a voice behind me. It was soft, calm, deep. An old man sat down beside me. I didn't know him. He wore simple clothes. His eyes were kind. His hands were wrinkled. He didn't look at me. He looked at the trees. And then he said something strange. He said, "Every day looks the same, until you open your eyes the right way." I turned to him, confused. "What do you mean?" I asked. He smiled. "I mean, life becomes interesting when you become interested." His words stayed in my head. They echoed. They danced. They repeated all night long. I didn't know this man. I didn't know why he spoke to me. But in that moment I felt something. I felt like he saw inside me. Like he knew I was tired of my boring life. I didn't say anything back. I just sat quietly. But inside, something small woke up. A light. A question. A spark. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about his words. Life becomes interesting when you become interested. I looked around my room. It was small. It had the same books, the same desk, the same walls. But something felt different now. It wasn't the room that changed. It was me. I started to wonder. What if I look at things with new eyes? What if I listen more? What if I try to see the story in everything? The next day, I walked slower to school. I noticed the sound of the leaves. I looked at the drawings on the wall. I saw a cat on the fence. I smiled. For the first time in many months, I smiled. Something was happening. Not outside, but inside me. And I knew it began on that bench. With that old man. That stranger. That voice. I didn't know it yet. But this was the start of a very interesting story. Chapter 2. The Stranger Who Spoke in Stories. The next day, I went back to the park. I didn't know why. I just wanted to see him again. The old man with the kind eyes and the quiet voice. I sat on the same bench under the same tree. I waited. Minutes passed. The wind touched my face. I looked around, pretending I was just resting. But inside I was hoping he would come. I didn't even know his name, but something about him made me feel different. He didn't ask me questions. He didn't tell me what to do. He just said a few words, and those words stayed with me. And then, just when I was about to leave, I heard the same voice again. He said, "You came back." I turned my head and saw him smiling. He sat down beside me, just like before, calm, gentle, like he had all the time in the world. I nodded and said, "I wanted to ask what you said yesterday about life becoming interesting. What did you mean?" He looked at me, not in a hard way, in a soft way, like he understood my question without me needing to explain. He said, "Let me tell you a story." I thought he was going to talk about his own life. But no, he started speaking about a bird. A small bird that was afraid to fly. The bird would sit on a branch and watch other birds fly across the sky. It wanted to fly too, but it thought its wings were too weak. So it waited. Every day it said, "Maybe tomorrow." But tomorrow became weeks, and weeks became years, and the bird never flew. Not because it couldn't, but because it never tried. I listened quietly. I didn't say anything, but my heart was beating faster. I knew that story was not really about a bird. It was about me. I was that bird, afraid to try, afraid to speak, afraid to fail. The old man didn't stop. He told more stories. One was about a stone that rolled down a mountain and became smooth. Another was about a boy who followed a river to find a treasure, only to learn the treasure was at home all along. The stories were simple, but they had deep meaning. They made me think. They made me feel something I hadn't felt in a long time. Wonder, curiosity, hope. After every story, he would pause. He would look at the sky or smile at a flower or close his eyes like he was remembering something special. He didn't talk fast. He didn't try to impress. He just let the stories breathe. And somehow, those stories were changing me. They weren't big stories with magic or heroes. They were quiet stories about small things. But they opened my mind. They made my normal world feel new. I asked him, "Where did you learn all these stories?" He said, "I lived them, and I listened." I asked, "Who did you tell them to before me?" He said, "No one. Not like this. I tell stories to those who are ready to listen." And then he looked straight into my eyes and said, "And you are ready." I didn't know what to say. I felt something inside me move, like a lock turning, like a door opening. I didn't feel bored anymore. I didn't feel tired. I felt alive, awake, like I had been sleeping for years, and now I was finally seeing the world. I didn't even notice that the sun had gone down. The park was getting dark, but I didn't want to leave. I wanted more stories. I wanted to learn, to feel, to change. The old man stood up slowly and said, "Come back tomorrow, if you still want to hear." I nodded. "Yes, I will." As he walked away, I felt like I had just opened the first page of a book. A very interesting book. A book about life. A book about seeing things with new eyes. And I knew this was just the beginning. The real story was still waiting, and I wanted to be part of it. Chapter 3. The Secret World of Everyday Things. The next morning I woke up early. I didn't feel lazy. I didn't feel bored. I felt something new. A soft energy in my chest. Like something inside me was finally moving. I got dressed and walked to the park again. My steps felt lighter. The world around me looked different, but nothing had really changed. The trees were still trees. The streets were still the same. but my eyes were open in a new way. The old man was already sitting on the bench. He looked like he had been waiting, or maybe he just came early every day. I didn't ask. I just smiled and sat down next to him. He looked at me and said, "Good, you came back. Now let's begin." I was confused. "Begin what?" I asked. He smiled. "Begin seeing." He pointed to a dry leaf on the ground. "What do you see?" I said, "A leaf." He said, "Look again." I looked. It was brown and broken. I could see the lines on it. The wind moved it a little. Still just a leaf. I said, "I still see a leaf." He nodded and said, "That leaf was once part of a big tree. It danced in the wind. It drank the sun. It gave shade to children. Now it rests, but it still has a story." I stared at the leaf again. This time I didn't see something boring. I saw a memory. I saw a journey. I saw life. Then he pointed to a small stone. "And that?" I said, "Just a stone." He laughed. "No, it's not just a stone. It's a traveler. It was once on a mountain. Then it rolled. Then it stopped. Then rain moved it. Then a child kicked it. Now it's here. And tomorrow, who knows where it will go?" I looked at the stone. I started to wonder where it had been, who had touched it, what it had seen. For the first time in my life, I felt that even small things had deep meaning. Even quiet things could speak. The old man said, "Every day, the world shows you something beautiful. But most people are too busy, too tired, too afraid. They don't look. They don't listen. They live with their eyes closed. But you are opening your eyes." I didn't speak. I just felt. And what I felt was something I never felt before: peace. Not loud excitement. Not big happiness. Just a calm peace. A gentle fire inside me. I looked around the park. I saw a boy chasing a butterfly. I saw an old woman feeding birds. I saw a dog sleeping under a bench. All these little things looked normal, but now they felt like stories. Each one had a beginning, a middle, maybe even an end. And I was part of it. I was not outside anymore. I was inside the story. The old man said, "If you want your life to feel interesting, you don't need to travel the world. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be special. You just need to notice. When you notice, life becomes new." I said, "But how can I remember to do this? How can I stop forgetting?" He said, "Make it a habit. Every day choose one small thing. Look at it deeply. Ask it to tell you a story. Then listen." I smiled. Sounded strange, but also true. That night, I looked at my school bag. I saw scratches on the zipper. I remembered the day it broke. I remembered my friend helping me fix it. I looked at my pencil. It was short and had bite marks. I remembered the day I was nervous before a test and kept chewing on it. These were not just objects. These were chapters of my life. I had never noticed them before, but now I did, and it made me feel full, like my life was not empty anymore. It was full of hidden treasures. I didn't feel bored that night. I didn't need a movie. I didn't need a phone. I had stories all around me. My shoes, my books, even the cracks on my wall. They had seen things. They had lived with me. I started writing about them. Simple English, short sentences, but full of meaning. I wrote, "This shoe walked through rain." I wrote, "This book made me cry once." I didn't care about grammar. I cared about feeling. I cared about memory. And I knew I was changing, not because I had more, but because I saw more, because I felt more. The world outside didn't change. I changed, and that made all the difference. Chapter 4: Learning to Speak with the World. After that day, Everything I touched felt alive. Everything I looked at had a secret voice. My books, my shoes, my pillow, even the glass of water I drank each morning. They all felt like quiet friends, waiting to share something. But there was still one thing missing. I was learning to see the world. But I was not speaking to it. Not really. I still felt shy to speak. Not just in English, even in my own language, I kept many thoughts inside. I didn't know how to express what I felt. I was afraid no one would understand. Or worse, no one would care. I went back to the park. Again. The old man was there. He looked at me and he didn't smile this time. He asked, "What is your story?" I froze. "My story," I said. He nodded. "Yes, you have listened. You have watched. But now you must speak. You must begin to tell your story." My heart beat faster. I didn't know how to do that. I said, "But I don't have the right words. My English is not good. I'm afraid." He looked at me with eyes full of kindness. "Words are not always perfect. But they don't need to be. Speak from truth. That is enough." That night, I sat with my notebook. I wrote one sentence. "My name is Amir. I feel small." Then I wrote more. But small things can be strong. Even a small voice can change a heart. I didn't know where these words came from, but they felt real. I read them out loud, slowly, in English. My voice shook a little, but I kept going. I wasn't trying to be perfect. I was trying to be honest. The next day I tried again. I saw a woman in a shop who looked tired. I smiled and said, "Good day." She smiled back. That was all. A short sentence. But it was a door. A bridge. It made me feel like I was part of the world, not outside of it. Later, I walked past a young man who was reading a book on a bench. I sat down near him. I asked, "Is that book interesting?" He looked surprised. Then he nodded and said, "Yes, very." We talked, just a little, but it felt good. The old man was right. You don't need perfect words. You need brave ones. And brave words come from the heart. I started to speak to the trees. I said, "Hello, sky." I said, "Thank you, flower." I said, "I see you, stone." Maybe it sounds silly, but it helped. It made me feel connected. It made me practice English in a way that felt safe. No one laughed. No one judged. And slowly, my voice became stronger. I also began recording myself on my phone. Just small thoughts. Today I feel sad. Today I saw a child laughing. Today I learned a new word. I would listen to my own voice. Sometimes I smiled. Sometimes I laughed at my mistakes. But I didn't stop. I kept going. Because each time I spoke, I felt lighter, freer, more real. And something beautiful started to happen. My friends noticed. They said, "You are talking more now." They said, "You look happier." I told them about the old man. I told them about the stories. Some of them laughed. Some listened. But a few of them also wanted to learn. I started to share what I knew. I showed them how to speak to the world, how to listen, how to tell their own stories. Not big ones, just real ones. I wasn't a teacher. I was still a student. But I was one step ahead. And that was enough to guide someone behind me. We started meeting once a week. In the park. On the bench. We told each other short stories. In English. We made mistakes. We laughed. But we grew. Together. Like small lights helping each other shine. I still thought of the old man. He didn't always come now. But I remembered his voice. His silence. His smile. He had shown me a path. But I had to walk it myself. And now I was walking it. Not alone, but with others beside me. I had learned something important. The world is not quiet. It is always speaking, in the rustle of leaves, in the sound of rain, in the eyes of a stranger, in the voice inside your heart. And if you learn to listen, really listen, then your voice will also be heard. And when that happens, your life becomes not just interesting, but meaningful. Chapter 5, You Are the Story You Tell. One evening I sat alone in the park. The wind was soft. The sky was dark. The stars were above me like little lights, watching quietly. I had my notebook in my hand. I opened it. I read all the pages I had written in the past weeks. My first sentence was still there. My name is Amir. I feel small. I smiled when I read it, because now I didn't feel small anymore. I felt alive. I felt open. I felt real. And most of all, I felt part of something, a world full of stories, a world that now included mine. I remembered everything. The first time I saw the old man, the stories he told me, the way he made small things feel big, the way he made me feel like I mattered. I hadn't seen him in many days now. I missed him, but I wasn't sad. I knew he came into my life for a reason. He helped me see. He helped me speak. And now it was my turn to help others. Just like he helped me. I looked around the park. I saw a boy sitting alone, just like I used to. He was holding a phone, looking down, lost in his own little world. I walked up slowly and said, "Hi, can I sit here?" He looked surprised, but he nodded. We sat in silence for a minute. Then I said, "Did you know every stone has a story?" He looked confused. "What do you mean?" I smiled. "Let me tell you a story." And so I did. I told him one of the old man's stories. I changed some parts. I made it mine. I added a little bit of my own life, my own feeling. The boy listened. He smiled. He asked questions. And then he said something that touched my heart. He said, "You made me feel better." Just like that. In one simple sentence. My story touched someone else. That night, I understood something very big. Something deep. We don't need to be famous to make a difference. We don't need to be rich or perfect or powerful. We just need to be honest and brave and willing to speak. Because our story, even if it's small, can help someone else, can give hope, can give light, can create connection. And that is powerful. I kept writing. I kept speaking. My English got better. My voice got stronger. I still made mistakes. But I didn't feel embarrassed anymore. I knew that learning is a journey, not a race. I started posting short videos online. I shared my thoughts. I shared simple English. I told people, if I can learn, so can you. And people listened. They sent messages. They shared their own stories. They said, "Thank you. I thought I was alone." But we are never alone. We are all trying. We are all growing. We all have fear and we all have dreams. That is what makes us human. That is what makes stories beautiful. I realized something the old man once said was true. The most interesting story is not in books. It is inside you. You are the story. You always were. Now, when I wake up in the morning, I don't feel bored. I feel curious. I ask myself, what will today's story be? Maybe I will meet someone new. Maybe I will learn a new word. Maybe I will help someone. Or maybe I will just sit under a tree and listen. That's okay too. Because every moment is part of the story. And I want you to remember this. Your English story matters. Your voice matters. Your feelings matter. You don't need to wait until you're perfect. You can begin now. With the words you know. With the feelings you have. With the small steps you take. Because you are not just learning English. You are learning how to tell your life. How to feel it. How to give it meaning. You are not just a learner. You are a storyteller. And the world needs your story. If this story touched your heart, Don't keep it to yourself. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more real stories and simple English learning. And please share your own story in the comments. Even one sentence, even one word, because your voice might help someone. Just like mine helped you. Let's grow together. Let's speak together. Let's make every day part of a very interesting story.